Hi, Rich.
DP, how are you, sir?
I'm doing spectacular.
Are you? Did you walk into a door or not? Because that's what you said when I heard you driving in. I just want to make sure you're okay and everything is fine.
Well, you're in Hollywood, and I don't know how people if they come up with excuses if they get something done cosmetically.
Yeah.
I did not get Botox.
Okay.
But I was accused of actually running into the door of my doctor while getting Botox. My plastic surgeon gave me Botox. But that's not true. So
did you walk in? Did you walk into a door? Or
yes, I did.
You did?
Yes, I did. Middle of the night.
Oh, no.
And I walked right into it. Yeah.
So it was like 2 a.m., 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you just turn around and boom.
Yes.
There's that door.
Yes. Deep sleep, got up.
Oh, no.
Bam.
Were you sleepwalking?
Probably half in, half out.
Half in, half out.
Yeah. But you know what? I had sort of an Angelina Jolie look, and I liked it. That was the thing.
Well, look, I mean, Angelina, as you know, is one of Hollywood's finest. Beautiful lady.
Yes, she is.
But she definitely cannot do Football Night in America, Dan. And you can host Hurt with the best of them. I've seen it, and I know you're going to get through this. What was
the worst condition we saw Matt Hasselbeck last night, and so the Danettes go, what's the sickest you've ever been and still been on TV? Last year, I think it was week 14, I was in bad shape and thought I was going to throw up on the set. So they put a garbage can right next to me. I thought I was going to ralph. Yes, I was in bad shape.
Is it a food poisoning situation for you?
No, I don't know what it was, but they gave me a game ball. I didn't know we had game balls at Football Night in America, but they gave me one, and they created one. But did you ever have one at the mothership?
No, I've had one of those things stuck in throat, no water around me, throat closing up. You're like 2 minutes to break, cold sweats start happening. That was not fun. That wasn't good. And then you just got to make sure that the next time that you're parched, one of your teammates just hands you something. Mooch was like looking at me, and I'm like, Steve, that's water next to you. Help a guy out. I know there's an I in Mariucci and two of them, but normally he's a little bit more giving than that. But that's the only time that ever happened to me. Stuart and I once had a giggle fit on the air, and that was because there was. You remember they used to have like that Q school competition
golf.
To get your golf card.
Yeah.
And there was a guy who was, he was big in the community, as you would say, Dan. He was probably $3 bills plus, really was, playing out there in shorts. And it looked like jean shorts. Like there would be many clubs that this guy wouldn't be allowed on. And he was playing, and he shot like a 9 or a 10, and he finally holed out, and he picked the ball up out of the cup. He flipped a bird to everybody. And the highlights digitized his hand, and Stuart and I didn't see that coming, and we could not get to break fast enough.
I remember that.
Neither of us could talk to throw to break.
I remember.
We were done.
That.
We were toast from that point.
Well, remember Charlie Steiner?
Oh gosh, please.
Charlie would get into a giggle fest. Has he ever done that with Dodger games since he does the Dodger games?
I don't know, man. I don't know if Andre Ethier will cause a giggle fit quite like, what was that, the Tanya Harding, the tool shed? Somebody got the tool when she and Galooly got divorced. They split up the property, and he couldn't and she got the tool shed, and he couldn't get through it.
Charlie couldn't get through that story.
No. He got the tool shed.
The reaction I got last night watching J.J. Watt was, now they want him to be on a good team. He's fascinating, interesting to watch. The only reason to watch the Texans, but it feels like there's a little bit of pushback now on J.J. Watt being overexposed. Why?
No question,
right?
There's a backlash, Dan. Yeah, well, because. Look, but I don't think some of this is his doing. Obviously, Hard Knocks is going to expose everybody in a manner that they're not used to being exposed. And he was the star. He is the star of the Texans. He's in a lot of commercials, and for good reason. He has walked the walk. There's no two ways about it. But you look at his contract. You look at the contract that Ndamukong Suh just signed in this offseason. Justin Houston signed in this offseason. And those three guys, who I think together their contracts are worth almost $250 million over the whole of the contract, and those guys have 3 combined wins right now. Defense does not win championships. You know, it's the quarterback-driven league. And if you don't have a quarterback, and or if you have two quarterbacks and you use one for 2.5 quarters before you turn to another guy and let him start 2.5 games, and then things devolve with Hoyer and Mallett last night to the point where we saw a quarterback controversy, Dan, in the midst of one single drive. I've never before seen that. I tweeted that out, and then somebody said, I want to introduce you to the 2014 Redskins. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that did happen last year, too, with three quarterbacks. Yeah. But you're on a team like J.J. Watt is on a team with no quarterback in a quarterback-driven league, and he's double-teamed, and Clowney might make run plays, but he is yet to prove out as the first overall pick. Marshall Faulk on our pregame show last night, Dan, said that Jadeveon Clowney was in quote-unquote a money coma, is what he called. And that's the situation the Houston Texans find themselves in at 1-4 right now. And Watt, being the guy who's the face of the franchise, is going to get a lot of blame and a backlash, too.
But then people say, well, don't spend money on a guy like J.J. Watt. Well, who are you going to spend the money on if you're the Texans? You have to spend a certain amount, and it's not like you have a quarterback that you're going to spend it on.
Oh, yeah.
So what do you do?
No, that's right. You have to give the guy the market value, and he is the best at his position. There's no two ways about it. But the problem is that should you pay, will we find out at some point? Obviously, you got to put a premium on pass rushers. And if it's a quarterback-driven league, it helps to have this guy horizontal rather than vertical. But do you pay these pass rushers this much money? I'm wondering if we're seeing the beginning of a trend maybe that you can block these guys or somehow game plan against these guys as the Colts did with a shaky offensive line, to say the least. Last night they removed Watt from the game, made him, poof, disappear. And when that happens, you need a quarterback, or at least a quarterback flow chart that can get you through the night. And the Texans don't have it. They don't have it, and the problem for Bill O'Brien is these are the two guys from his New England system that he's brought in, and he doesn't even know which one is the right one right now. And they're 5 games into a season at 1-4, and 3 of the 5 games, the quarterback that started was not the quarterback that finished. And they've got to start winning games. The problem is they just lost a game to the team that constantly beats them, that they have to beat. And Hasselbeck's performance last night, Dan, is something that we will be talking about for the rest of the year. It's one of the performances of the year, and a 40-year-old winning back-to-back starts. Last one to do that was Favre, and just him putting his emotions on his sleeve. And as he tweeted out last night, he gave a game ball to somebody he knew who died of cancer that day. I believe that was the emotional day that he was referring to with Tracy Wolfson after the game. I love that guy. And what he's done is saved the Colts season. It has, or at least put them in position to perform better moving on.
Yeah, because I said we might look back on that game, at the end of the season, and it may mean a whole lot more in the bigger picture. We're talking to Rich Eisen from the NFL Network, the Rich Eisen show that follows this one in a half hour from now on DirecTV. But I'm wondering where we spend the money. If it's not on quarterbacks, it seems like you can make a wide receiver great. Defense, does it really matter? Is it the secondary that you're going to spend money on, or linebackers?
Yeah, I would spend money. I would spend money on a shutdown corner, and I would spend money on a receiver. I really would. I mean, you've got to pay these guys, and Chip Kelly's Eagles are proof that you can't just make a wide receiver. Right now, this is exactly the perfect test case. That's the laboratory for this argument, Dan, is Philadelphia. And you have to have skilled guys who are somewhat veteran in nature. You can't go all young. And there's nobody separating right now in Philadelphia at the receiver position. There's nobody that anybody, let's say, put it this way, Rob Ryan, who's scared of nobody, as you know, I don't think he's in a film room this week saying, oh gosh, that guy scares me right now on the offense. And the only guy that would is DeMarco Murray, and for some reason we're running him east-west instead of north-south. I don't get it. A perfect example also last week, Dan, is DeMarco Murray finally rips one off of more than 10 yards. He runs it 30 yards in his first carry, and it was north-south. And then the next snap, it's because it's part of the scheme, got to hurry up. And the next snap, Murray, do you line him back up and do the same thing again, or line him back up and use the threat of that again? No, he split wide outside the numbers because they got to go. It's keeping on schedule is almost as important as putting the guys in the position that they should be put in. And all of that doesn't work if you don't have the receivers to make it work, and especially a quarterback without the threat of the run. I thought that the way this thing works is because the guy who's throwing it also could be a threat to run it, which Sam Bradford is not. So that's a perfect test case. I'd spend the money on a wide receiver of like the Antonio Browns of the world in a heartbeat. But I'm not yet ready to say don't spend it on a pass rusher. I'm just saying right now the last three guys who have been paid to rush the passer or at least hold down that anchor on the defensive line like Sue, they're not translating into wins right now.
Could you see Chip Kelly going back to college if this all goes up in flames?
People here, Dan, out here in Los Angeles, already thinking he might look good in the Coliseum next year.
Yeah,
based on what we saw last night.
Yeah, I'm reading the columns today.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Now, let's get it started now. But I don't. I wonder if Chip Kelly would say no. If it doesn't work out in Philadelphia, I still want to show that it can work in the NFL. Or is he one of those guys who says, you know what? Let me just kind of fold my tent and go back to where I know that I'll do well and I can control everything.
I don't know if it's going to take Jeffrey Lurie to make that decision for him, or he might be a guy that does in a quiet moment sit there and think, you know what, Texas, USC, where I can come back as a Harbaugh, Jim Harbaugh-like figure on campus and create my own fiefdom again. Might be the way to go. I don't know how he thinks, and I even asked him that on our draft coverage this year. Are you aware, Chip Kelly, how much we in the national media wonder what you're thinking? And he basically said, "I don't think as much about what I think as what you think." And it took me like 3 minutes to try and decipher what he said, but I still got his meaning. We could sit here until the cows come home to figure out what he thinks.
Who do you got on?
Kurt Warner is on today's show. Same with Daniel Jeremiah, who I know you love him too. He's great.
He's very good.
We'll talk college football with him, and then in studio guests, hour 3. I'm fired up. Cal Ripken will be here with Ron Darling together. They're here in town to call the Mets Dodgers, and then Paul Reiser has got a new show on Amazon called Red Oaks, and he'll be here too in person today.
Awesome. Have a great weekend. We'll be watching on Sunday morning. Good to talk to you, buddy.
All right, DP. Just, fight through it. Fight through it. Watch out for those. Just keep the doors shut at night. I think that's the way to go.
Well, your wife hangs out with Hollywood actresses, so maybe they could give me some advice about what to do with these lips that I have.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Maybe Susie can, I got to do something to calm them down a little bit here.
Well, as you know, Suze is never shy to give out information or opinion on that. So she'll reach out, Dan. She'll text you.
If she can help me on the Botox here, the lip injections, that'd be great.
She'll hit you on your hip.
Thank you, Rich.
All right.
That's Rich Eisen.